All right, let's get into it. We're going to pull back the curtain on our modern obsession with work. You know that feeling, right? That constant pressure to be productive, to always be on, to hustle. It feels like such a 21st century problem, but its roots, well, they go way deeper than you might think. Does this sound familiar to you? I mean, that feeling of lying in bed, your body is totally exhausted, but your brain is still back at the office, just churning through to-do lists and thinking about that one email you forgot to send. It's this constant mental weight that so many of us carry around, this feeling that we can never, ever truly switch off. And look, this feeling isn't just in our heads. Thinkers like Byung-Chul Han have actually put a name to it. What he's arguing is that we're living in this new kind of society where the pressure doesn't come from a boss yelling at us anymore. Nope, it comes from inside. We've become our own guards, our own taskmasters, pushing ourselves to the brink in the name of achievement. So this all leads us to the big question, the one we're going to tackle here. Where did this come from? Why do we have this deep, almost moral need to be busy all the time? Why is it that just relaxing can sometimes make us feel, well, guilty? Well, the answer starts about 500 years ago. It was a time when a few pretty radical ideas completely rewired Western culture and, believe it or not, totally changed the meaning of work itself. See, before this whole shift, you have to remember that for most of human history, hard work was, well, it was seen as a drag. It was something you had to do to survive, a burden for the lower classes, but it definitely wasn't seen as some noble virtue. But then a huge religious and political storm called the Protestant Reformation came along, and it was about to change absolutely everything. And there were two guys right at the center of this change, Martin Luther and John Calvin. Luther kind of got the ball rolling. He suggested that any work, not just being a priest, could be a way to serve God. But he still thought you should stick to the job you were born with. Then John Calvin comes along and just floors the gas pedal. He argued that actively looking for more profitable work wasn't just okay. It was your religious duty, a total game changer. Now, this is where it gets really interesting, psychologically. Calvin's idea of predestination created this intense, gnawing anxiety. Think about it. God's already decided who's saved, and you can never know for sure if you're on the list. So what do? You desperately look for signs. And what was the biggest sign? Success. Worldly success through hard work. So people started working like crazy, not to enjoy life, but to prove to themselves and to everybody else that they were one of the chosen ones. And so all these ideas get bundled together into what the sociologist Max Weber famously called the Protestant ethic. You can think of it like a new operating system for society. It made virtues out of things like diligence, being on time, and, this is a big one, reinvesting your money instead of spending it on fun stuff. And over the centuries, this religious idea slowly lost its religious shell, but the ethic itself, it got baked into the very DNA of Western culture. Okay, so this new way of thinking wasn't just some abstract theory. No way. It became the actual blueprint for entire societies. And maybe the most famous example is Puritan New England back in the 17th century. Just to get a feel for this world, listen to this opening line from Nathaniel Hawthorne's The Scarlet Letter. He's painting this picture of a really grim, serious, judgmental crowd all gathered in front of a prison. This isn't a culture of live and let live, it's a culture of public scrutiny. And that's the absolute key to understanding this. In a society like this, your personal morality wasn't personal at all. It was public property. Your work ethic, how religious you were, your sins, all of it was on display for the entire town to see and to judge. The story of Hester Prynne is the perfect illustration. She's publicly shamed, forced to stand on a platform for everyone to stare at, and then made to wear a scarlet A for the rest of her life. In this world, religion and law were basically the same thing. Even just being lazy could be seen as a sign you were damned. Your failures were literally a public show. This is the Protestant ethic made real, and frankly, kind of terrifying. So let's hit the fast forward button. We jump ahead a few hundred years. For many people, the original religious beliefs have faded, but that work ethic, oh, it's still here. And it has created a very new, very modern kind of poverty, one that has nothing to do with how much money you have. It's called time poverty, and it's one of the great paradoxes of our time, isn't it? We can have all the stuff in the world, but we lack the one resource that's actually priceless: discretionary time. You know, time to rest, time to connect with people, time to just be. And this table here makes it so clear. We all understand income poverty, right? It's about not having enough money. Well, time poverty is about not having command over your own hours and minutes. It completely shifts the focus from what we can buy to our actual ability to live a full life, to rest, to connect, to be well. And this quote just hits the nail on the head. Money is a tool, for sure, but time. Time is the actual currency of life. It's the one finite thing we all have, and we're spending it every single second. But here's the thing. This relentless drive, this obsession with the grind, it hasn't gone unchallenged. For centuries, people have been raising their hands and saying, hey, wait a minute, is this really how we want to live? I mean, even way back in the 19th century, you had thinkers like Henry David Thoreau offering a powerful counter-narrative. While the Protestant ethic was screaming, work harder, save more, Thoreau was over here arguing for simplicity. He was basically saying, let's stop doing all this superfluous work for things we don't really need, and let's start valuing our time, our actual lives, above everything else. And that brings us right back to our modern-day philosopher, Byung-Chul Han. He argues we've morphed into something he calls the achievement society. In this society, the pressure isn't an external voice saying, you must do this. It's an internal one that whispers, I can do more, I can be better. We become our own biggest drivers and, in a way, our own worst enemies. And the end result of all this self-motivation, all this I can, Han calls it the burnout society. The problem today isn't that we have too many limits. It's that we have an excess of yes, an endless ocean of possibility that leads to this deep, widespread exhaustion. And that feeling, I'm sure that feels very, very familiar to a lot of us. So, okay, we've taken this huge journey from 16th century theology all the way to 21st century burnout. But what does it all mean for you, for me, for our day-to-day lives? This timeline really maps out the whole story, how we got from point A to point B. It shows that our modern anxieties about being productive aren't some brand new phenomenon. They're just the latest chapter in a really, really old story. And if there's one thing you take away from all this, let it be this. That nagging voice in your head, the one that makes you feel guilty when you're just sitting on the couch doing nothing, that is not a personal failing. It is not a character flaw. It is the 500-year-old echo of an idea that taught us our worth is directly tied to our productivity. Now, knowing this history doesn't magically make the pressure disappear, but it can free us from blaming ourselves. It gives us the power to step back and ask a more conscious, more important question. If time truly is the currency of our lives, how do we really want to be spending it?